Search and rescue efforts are continuing after a landslide buried homes and communities.
Heavy rains triggered 2 devastating landslides.
Today is the 5th day since the tragic landslide disaster has occurred in Gamo Zone.
So I've been following the situation in Ethiopia, and honestly, it's only getting worse. The scale of this tragedy in the Gamo Zone is unbelievable. The Ethiopian government just declared 3 days of national mourning, and you only do that when the situation is truly catastrophic. It all started with a week of relentless heavy rains that essentially turned the mountain slides in the Gamo Zone into a massive, deadly moving wall of mud. Initially, when I first read about this, the reports coming out of the Gamo Zone were talking about maybe 30 people being killed. But the numbers are climbing fast. Right now, we're already at over 100 deaths. They've recovered something about 80 bodies so far, but with so many still missing under the mud, the number is likely going to rise. And it's not just about the lives lost. Think about this, over 3,400 people. That's thousands of families who just lost everything. Their homes aren't just damaged, they're gone, they're buried. They've been forced to move, and they're basically refugees in their own district now because of this relentless heavy rain. Now, before we continue the video, I managed to do something pretty rare. I managed to get an interview with a guy that is living in Gamo Zone, in the disaster zone. The reason it is so rare, it's because they actually use solar electricity to have lights in their village, and there is no internet. So he couldn't have this interview with me, and he had to travel to a different zone in Ethiopia in order to have internet stable enough to have this interview with me. I'm so grateful for this opportunity. Hello, my friend.
Hello, Jonathan.
Hallelujah, right? Hallelujah is the name?
Yeah, that's my name, bro. How are you?
How are you, man? Good to see you.
Thank you for the invitation, Jonathan. I'm good, but things here are not good because, as you know, we lost more than 120 people because of landslide disaster. Still, our people are under the mud.
That's terrible. That's a terrible situation.
We are one people. We are called Gamo people.
It's so like a family.
Blood. Yeah, they are my blood. So the pain is I can't explain with words. By the way, they lost everything they have. Not only their family members. They lost every property they have. Their houses are gone.
Hallelujah. Have you seen the disaster with your eyes? Have you seen the impact?
Yes, I have seen what happened there. The landslide it traveled more than 200 meters.
Wow.
And it covered all their house, their property. For now, by the way, they have nothing to eat. Nothing to eat.
So what will they do now?
Yeah, they are supported by the government, but the humanitarian supply is not enough.
Now let's try to actually understand how this happened, because it is not just that it rained too much. Look at the topography. First, you have the rain. And I'm talking about days, sometimes weeks, of heavy, relentless downpours. The soil on these steep slopes starts to absorb all the water. Imagine a sponge. It gets heavier and heavier, but the water also acts like a lubricant, making the soil particles lose their grip on each other. Eventually, the ground reaches its saturation point. It literally can't hold any more water. At this stage, the soil isn't solid anymore. It's like a thick, heavy liquid sitting on a harder underlying layer of rock or compacted earth. The weight of all the water plus the sheer gravity on the steep slope becomes too much. And then it finally breaks. Somewhere along the slope, a shear line or a fracture forms. This is the weak point where the saturated, heavy soil finally disconnects from the stable ground beneath. When you have a weak, of non-stop rain on these steep highlands, it's like a massive multi-story building made out of wet concrete sliding down a mountain at 15 miles per hour. But here's the most frustrating part. This isn't some random out-of-the-blue tragedy. Back in July 2024 in Giza-Gofa, literally the same region, we saw an almost identical disaster where over 200 people were killed, including the rescuers who were trying to save others. And it's not like nobody knew this could happen again. There's actually good data about it. The IPCC, the global body of climate experts, has been mapping these exact risks for years. They've explicitly warned that this region is becoming a hot zone for these kind of extreme high-intensity rain events. They call it human-induced extremes. Basically, the data is black and white. The weather patterns in this part of Ethiopia are becoming more volatile and more dangerous. So if the warning exists and the history is written down, like what happened in 2024, which is still fresh memory, why did this happen again? Why is the result exactly the same? So as I read, there's a massive gap between the science and what's actually happening on the ground. There are 3 levels to fixing this, and the tech behind it is actually pretty straightforward. First, it's physical engineering. Around the village, it's all about locking the mountain in its place. That means building concrete terraces, just massive retaining walls, and using heavy-duty steel nets to anchor the soil to the bedrock. And it's about water management, digging a deep reinforced drainage channels so that during heavy rain the water has somewhere to flow besides into the soil. And second, it's the monitoring. There's a thing called geotechnical sensors. They are like these tiny stethoscopes for the earth, and they detect shifts in just a few millimeters. The second the ground starts to creep, an automated system triggers an alert. In a landslide, 10 or 15 minutes is a difference between a tragedy and a close call. And the third part, which is the boring part, is just zoning. It's about a government just looking at the map and saying, this area is red, it's a death trap, no one can live here. And this means compensating families, moving them to the plains, and strictly enforcing laws against building on the slope. That's just a ticking time bomb. But as we can all imagine, the hard truth is that all these steps requires massive capital. It's a solvable problem, but it's a race between technology and the environment. And right now, the environment is winning and the solution just aren't getting to the ground. What's your take about this? Is it just a matter of funding, or am I missing something else? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.